is no longer illegal to possess small amounts of marijuana for recreational use.
A year into Montana's launch of legal recreational marijuana sales, the state legislature is looking at a series of bills that would revise the rules for the marijuana industry. The legal framework for the system has shifted again with new laws passed by the Montana legislature and signed by Governor Greg Gianforte this week.
We would like to severely restrict, if not eliminate, the recreational sales. We'd like to see the commercialization of marijuana rolled back. The sales and the transport and the distribution in the commercial way that we see now, I think deserves a major correction and needs to be rolled back.
Montana had $300 million in cannabis sales this year.
So as you guys can see, Montana has both rec and medical programs. In fact, rec has been legal over in Montana since January the 1st, 2021. And that's when Initiative 190 went into effect, making it legal for both medical patients and rec users. But what if I said that there's a new bill being proposed that actually requires people to register and to pay a $200 annual fee to use recreational herb? Now that's something we're going to get into in a bit, but let's have a look at things and see how they're going down in Montana.
In the coming months, the Montana legislature is likely to reshape the state's marijuana laws after voters approved a pair of measures to legalize recreational marijuana. But even before lawmakers have had a chance to meet, the first provisions of Initiative 190 have already taken effect. As of January 1st, I-190 says people 21 and older can possess and use up to 1 ounce of marijuana, or 8 grams of marijuana concentrates. It also allows growing up to 4 marijuana plants inside a private residence with the owner's permission. But don't expect to be able to immediately buy at a retail outlet without a medical card. Dispensaries are still limited to serving registered patients, and a section allowing recreational sales won't take effect until at least October. Lewis and Clark County Attorney Leo Gallagher says for years his office has usually only prosecuted misdemeanor marijuana possession in connection with other crimes. After I-190 passed, he says they immediately dropped pending possession cases.
There's no point in resources being expended either by the accused or by the government in pursuing something that doesn't make any difference.
The initiative also allows people already convicted of marijuana offenses that have since been made legal to ask that they be removed from their record. Gallagher said he doesn't plan to challenge those expungements unless the marijuana possession was linked to a more serious crime.
I don't think that it's worthwhile to try to contest something that the people have passed.
I-190 includes some restrictions. It says smoking marijuana in a public place isn't allowed and could carry a civil fine. Sheriff Leo Dutton said he believes his deputies will be able to enforce that provision if they observe someone smoking.
I think if you see them and you are trained to know what that is, we will probably write that.
He said there's more uncertainty around a section saying marijuana plants in a home have to be locked away and out of public view.
The plant allotment at home is where we are unclear. Those things still need to be worked out.
Authorities will also still address driving under the influence of marijuana. Montana law sets out a legal limit for THC in the blood, and Gallagher believes he can prosecute successfully if a driver is over that limit.
So, as you guys can see, despite rec being passed in certain states, it does take a little bit of time for the law to catch up and for things like sales, legal plant counts, and all that to actually come to the fore and be finalized. Now, you guys would have heard that sheriff mention plant counts. And as you guys can see, according to the Montana Department of Revenue, their official website, it says it is legal for individuals in Montana to grow their own herb. Adults may cultivate up to 2 mature plants and 2 seedlings for private use in a private residence, subject to certain restrictions. Medical patients, however, may cultivate up to 4 plants and 4 seedlings. But as it says on their website, the plants must not be visible to the public. But what's a little bit less clear is some of the laws when it comes to the actual advertising, packaging, and sale of products, especially when it comes to people that own dispos. And currently there's actually an advocacy group which is battling against some of these dispos, aiming to try to tighten regulations and tighten what's actually happening. And it sounds like to me they want a complete blackout of rec. But check it out for yourself.
Marijuana means big money here in Montana. From one end of the state to the other, business is booming and has been ever since the legislature made it legal.
Montana had $300 million in cannabis sales this year, the first year, with $58 million generated in tax revenue.
But the fight over legal weed continues.
We would like to severely restrict, if not eliminate, the recreational sales.
Kevin Sabet is a former drug policy advisor to several presidents. States. He's now the president and CEO of Smart Approaches to Marijuana, or SAM.
We'd like to see the commercialization of marijuana rolled back. The sales and the transport and the distribution in the commercial way that we see now, I think deserves a major correction and needs to be rolled back.
The organization is lobbying at the state capitol to roll back regulations on recreational marijuana. Several bills before lawmakers would do just that. House Bill 351, for example, would ban all advertising of marijuana.
We think that right now, a lot of the American public are underestimating the effects of today's very highly potent marijuana.
It's already the people's choice. Nobody is forced to come into here or any of these establishments, and it shouldn't be compared to cigarettes or big tobacco.
Jason Smith co-owns Montana Advanced Caregivers, a local chain of Yellowstone County dispensaries. He says Montanans have already sounded off on marijuana and doesn't appreciate out-of-staters trying to influence Montana politics.
So you have an out-of-stater trying to circumvent the will of the voters, pose their own moralities and personal beliefs or personal agendas on Montanans. Well, this isn't Montucky.
No votes are expected on any marijuana legislation right now, but with groups rallying on both sides, it's clear this is still a hot topic in the Treasure State.
We don't know what the long-term damage will be. We know the short-term to medium-term is not good.
The people voted for recreational marijuana in Montana and safe access to these products.
In Billings, Kelsey Marison, MTN News.
So there's so many things that I can touch on there. First off, I fully agree with that guy when he talks about it's an unfair comparison to compare it to Big Pharma, Big Tobacco, or any of these other harder drugs. The truth is there are a lot of medicinal benefits when it comes to the good herb. And we can definitely pose arguments that a lot of those things are a lot more dangerous than this plant. Now, what we're noticing in a lot of these states is that the voters have spoken, rec has passed, and the lawmakers are now trying to rope things in and rein things in because they don't like it. In this particular situation, we heard the dispo owner talking about the out-of-state groups that actually come into your state and try to influence laws. And that's something that we notice across a lot of different states. And it's not limited to these types of activist groups. There are a lot of lawmakers in local and state governments that actually come from out of state and bring their beliefs from that state with them to different states. And therein, you find a problem with the people that already live in that state under a certain set of beliefs. Now, let me know what you guys think about that. Drop it in the comments down below. And if you guys are getting value from this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support us further, join the ICANN VIP Bean Club or cop some merch from the merch store. Now, I was telling you guys about some of these lawmakers coming from out of state, but some of them are just also out of touch because they've never consumed a plant, far less forever grown one. And that'll become pretty apparent in this next clip when you literally see a room full of lawmakers deciding on something that none of them have probably ever consumed or have any experience with. It's literally a room full of old people who have no idea what's going on. And not saying that old people are bad, because a lot of older people do consume cannabis, but these old people just look like they've never consumed the plant, far less for grown one.
On Monday, the Senate Business, Labor, and Economic Affairs Committee heard testimony on House Bill 351.
Like the youngest person in this room right now, it looks like it's that chick who's sitting behind the computer in the corner who's actually just taking notes. She's the recorder. She's not actually making any decisions, I don't think.
On Monday, the Senate Business, Labor, and Economic Affairs Committee heard testimony on House Bill 351, sponsored by Republican Representative Carrie Seekins Crow of Billings. It would prohibit marijuana businesses in the state from promoting their business or brand in print, over TV and radio, or using a billboard. Seekins Crow claimed marijuana advertising has gone beyond what leaders originally intended.
That's what we do, is we say this is how we want this to look. We have regulated this industry, and this is part of the regulations with this.
But the bill drew opposition from marijuana businesses and from the State Newspaper Association. They said the industry is generally following the current rules, which prohibit advertising actual marijuana products but allow mentions of the brand. They argued any issues come mostly from a few bad actors.
What you have then is a cycle of the law getting stricter, and the people who getting around it keep getting around it, and the people who are compliant are just consistently suffering the consequences of stricter laws.
Also at issue this session will be whether to adjust the way the state uses marijuana tax revenue. Several bills have been proposed with different models for distributing those funds, from directing more toward law enforcement, to using some for improving rural county roads, to removing most specific allocations and redirecting money to the general fund. Another bill heard in committee Monday would revise required warning labels to add a warning that marijuana use during pregnancy could lead to congenital abnormalities. Supporters and opponents of the bill disputed over whether existing data is sufficient to justify that concern. The committee didn't take any immediate action on the proposals it heard on Monday.
So as you guys can see, they're constantly trying to implement laws which will definitely cause the black market to thrive. Increased taxes, increased regulations, the ban on all types of advertising, these things definitely do hurt the legal market. And as you guys would have seen in our previous upload, that's what causes the illegal market to thrive. Now, what also causes the illegal market to thrive is when you try to put an annual fee on recreational use, things like this. Under this proposed bill, it would require people to register and pay a $200 annual fee to use Rec Herb. Now, not only do you have to pay a fee, but you also must register. So what they're doing is compiling a register of rec users. Personally, I don't know if I feel okay with that. Now, what makes this even crazier is that voters voted to approve this rec program back in 2020. Now, fast forward to 2025, and lawmakers are trying to impose a $200 annual fee to participate in this legal program that the voters approved 5 years ago. Just let that sink in. Now, under this legislation, SB 255, it would create a registration system similar to what's in place for medical programs in other states, except that this would be for adults in a rec market with a significantly higher annual fee. You would need to pay this $200 fee and obtain a cannabis card from the State Cannabis Control Division, or CCD. And of course, this is an annual fee that you'll have to pay every year to renew your card. Now, upon applying for the card, there is a 60-day period where adults can access stuff from shops and licensed retailers, but if you don't pay your fee by the end of that window, the temporary ID card will be cancelled. Now, this would be the first of its kind as far as I'm aware, because according to this, no other adult use state forces consumers to enroll in a state registry, and the People's Initiative explicitly prohibits this surveillance and government overreach, because you're basically recriminalizing the good herb for anyone that does not pay $200 a year to register with the state. And that's clearly an affront to the Montana voters who made their voices clear when they passed Initiative I-190. According to this bill, you gotta keep your card on you at all times, and the card will have a photo ID. And this bill will also amend the current state code to make it clear that you gotta be a card holder and you have to be registered. So as you guys can see, that's a clear example of lawmakers trying to circumvent the will of the voters. And that's really, really sad to see. Let me know what you guys think about that. Would you guys pay a $200 annual fee and get entered into a state registry to use Rec Herb? Drop it in the comments and let me know. And that's not the only example that we've seen of lawmakers trying to circumvent the will of the people. We've also seen that recently where the people voted for rec, but the lawmakers said that they didn't know what they were doing. They were just confused. So check that video out because it's coming up right now.